Welcome to JMR Talks. Today we'll discuss about empathy, sympathy, compassion, and we will also look at the relationship between empathy and what we call leadership. Do leaders need to be empathetic towards their what we call associates? Now, what is empathy? Empathy means you are trying to what we call understand or feel the emotions of what we call others. The main difference between sympathy and empathy is that when you are trying to be sympathetic, you are trying to understand others' feelings from your frame of reference. But when you say empathy, you are trying to what I call understand what I call their feelings, from their what I call frame of reference. That means you are trying to what I call step into what I call his or her shoes and try to what I call understand. Now during the COVID time, people have gone through what I call tough times. There was reports of burnout, stress, etc., etc. So that's how what I call the people started talking about empathetic leadership, etc. Like we say, strategy what I call culture eats strategy for breakfast. So people started saying empathy eats what I call sympathy for breakfast. That means today a leader or a manager, it doesn't matter if he's what I call sympathetic, but what he needs to be what I call is empathetic towards his what I call colleagues or what I call associates. So when you say that somebody is what I call empathetic, you are trying to say that you are there and trying to what I call make others feel that they are not alone. You are there to what I call support. You are there to what I call help. So you are trying to what I call know, understand the situation where the what I call employee what I call feels he is in, so that you can create an environment for him to what I call thrive and what I call accomplish what I call success. In other words, empathy is a critical skill for effective leadership. A leader sans what I call empathy will not be what I call effective. So when you are empathetic, you are trying to what I call understand and connect with the what I call person concerned, so that you are in a position to build what I call stronger relationships. Now our job as a leader is to what I call fix people. So when you are only sympathetic, you are hearing what I call your own voice what I call sound. You are hearing what I call the sound of your voice. But on the other hand, when you try to be empathetic, you are creating an arena, an environment, a situation for hearing others' what I call voice. Fine. When you are empathetic, you build rapport. When you build rapport, you are in a position to what I call influence. When you are in a position to influence, you are bound to get what I call the desired behavior. Lisa Martin, in her what I call recent LinkedIn post, gave a comparison between what I call sympathy and empathy. You can have a look at the what I call picture. When you are trying to what I call sympathetic, you are trying to what I call understand and what I call advise. But you are what I call from a distance you are trying to what I call understand emotions. On the other hand, when you are empathetic, you are trying to what I call connect with him. You are trying to what I call feel how he feels about that and all that. So when you are sympathetic, you are looking through your lens. That means it will be very quicker but less effective. On the other hand, when we are empathetic, we are trying to what I call look at from their lens to understand what I call their emotions. It might take a bit longer, but results will be what I call robust. Now let's look at what the relationship between leadership and what I call empathy. As a leader, when we are trying to what I call change the reality, there is an urgent need to what I call understand our people, because given the accessibility, affordability, availability of all other resources, it is the only talented human resource which could provide the cutting edge for the organization. So as such, there is a greater need to what I call understand the people's emotions, aspirations, etc. Empathy is an excellent what I call educator. You get the key insights and what I call gain appreciation about the people, then your what I call mere knowledge of the people and all that. But empathy can be understood only when you are present at what I call three levels. Number one, physical. As a leader or as a manager, you are close to the what I call actual area of condition. Two, emotional. Trying to what I call gain emotional perspective of the person concerned, so that accordingly you can adopt your approach. Third, intellectual. You are trying to what I call understand the person's values and what I call belief set. Fine. A question then arises as to why we all need to be concerned about empathy or being empathetic, etc. The research has shown that empathy is one of the most important leadership skills. A global study by what called Quadrix, has shown that 42% of the people are experiencing what called mental health related problems. A study in occupational health science, reported that sleep is compromised when the leaders are not being empathetic. University of Illinois study find that when people get rude emails at work, their performance gets affected. Another study at Cotton University has said found that incivility at work results in people feeling less capable in their parenting job. In another study published in Academy of Management Journal shows that the rudeness of work impacts performance, and they are less likely to help others. Today we are talking about a collaborative work culture, or we are talking about the execution mindset. People not only doing their work successfully, but helping others to complete their work successfully. So in such a scenario, don't you think that empathy is needed? That's fine. Does empathy lead to any positive outcomes? Yes. A new study of 889 employees by Catalyst found that 61% of the employees who are with the empathetic leader, they were innovative, as against 13% with unempathetic leaders. 76% of the people working under empathetic leader were engaged, as against 32% with unempathetic leaders. 57% of white women and 62% of women of color, they express that they don't wish to leave the company being with a empathetic leader. 50% of the workplace people reported that their workplace was inclusive because being under a empathetic leader. Now coming to work life integration. 86% of the people with the empathetic leader, they reported that they are able to navigate demands of official work and the personal work. In other words, they are able to integrate their personal and official work as such. Now, what is that you need to do to be empathetic towards your associates or colleagues? Number one, listen attentively. Active listening. Think compassionately, not simply trying to understand or feel, but trying to alleviate their pain or suffering. Now, for instance, during the COVID, in a particular office, two star performers. One star performer continued to be a star performer, and other star performer became a average performer. When the HR manager and the concerned manager, they tried to dig deep, they came to know that the star performer who continues to be a star performer is almost on the burnout stage. So once again they had to reschedule everything to sustain that employees working. The other one who became an average performer, when they dug deep, they found that recently he lost his life and he had to take care of his children as well as attend to office work. So they had to redesign the schedule of the work in such a way that he is able to devote to both his to the office and to his children. In other words, not being simply sympathetic or empathetic, but you are trying to be compassionate. Next, let others be the first and foremost. Be pragmatic. Try to understand the ground realities. When Volvo, company's manager of a division in Bangalore during the COVID, when the work orders were coming down and he had to lay off some people, he called a meeting of the people and expressed the situation. Then voluntarily, people have come forward that is against 30 days of work. Somebody said he needs only 15 days. Somebody said 1 week. In other words, they came forward to share the work among themselves, so that nobody is laid off. Sympathy, empathy, and compassion, they are near cousins, but they are not synonymous. When you are sympathetic, you are trying to understand the emotions of the people. When you are empathetic, you are trying to feel by stepping into others' shoes. But given the tough times, what I call, people are going ahead because there is a wide reporting of, layoffs and all that. Compassion is what I call need of the hour. I mean, relating to or referring to what I call, layoffs, by the companies left and right. The Ratan Tata sir has said that when the companies, what I call, have grown with the support and the help of what I call employees, is it not, their responsibility to what I call take care of their employees, during the tough times? Let's hope that the leaders in general and the managers in particular, adopt a compassionate approach and, what I call take care of their people. Let's not forget, that people may forget what you say. People may forget, what you did, but people will never forget, how you made them feel. Now, when you make them feel that you are there to what I call, care, what I call them in difficult times, they give their what I call best. Thank you.